I hope I'm audible and all of you can hear me. Right? Good. Um, it's really a pleasure and honor to be here today. And I would like to start out by thanking the organizing committee, Principal Saab, for giving me the opportunity to come and talk to you about my life experiences and particularly my book, Seat 1C. This sort of activity and program is something that I would like other institutions to replicate across the country. I'll talk about it a little later of why it is very important to encourage such activities. I'm also most thankful to the committee, but particularly to my nephew Hadi Mubashir Kazmi, who has invited me and handled all the logistics for me to be here today. Being a Lahori, grew up in Lahore, always looked up to Aitchison, and when I got the invite, I got really very excited about coming and sharing my unique musings from the ill-fated flight which was crashed in Karachi. I would also like to take the opportunity to do some acknowledgements, starting from Amna Hassan, the editor and the researcher of my book, Amina Sayyed, the publisher, the international publishers, Dibakar Ghosh and Kanishka Gupta, and the international publishers editor, Shadarupa Dhar. This is my 31st book read, by the way, since its launch effectively in April. From Pakistan, various cities in Pakistan, to Dubai, to Macau, to Hong Kong, to London, and now I am booked until December. And because I have day job to do as well, so I keep these book reads over the weekend only, and I try and confine them now to only 4 a month. But this is an exception to that rule that I set up for myself. The book is also being, by the way, translated now in Urdu, none other than by the legendary Dr. Amjad Saqib, in Spanish, by the way, and also I've been offered to get it translated into Chinese. But I have, gone a little further, and I'm getting this sketch note done for this book. So this book, which is right now still a very readable size of around 200 pages, would now be condensed to 30 pages. It will be the depiction of my learnings through graphics and very brief sort of notations. As I said, this one is a very special one for me for multiple reasons. Being Aitchison College, the event itself, but more so, the purpose of me writing this book was actually to talk to the most brightest and the curious minds which are sitting in this hall today. Really, that is the objective, and I am most thankful to the principal for giving me this opportunity to talk to you all. And I'll try and keep my monologue as brief as possible so that we will have more interactive session, and whatever questions you possibly have about me, I shall be able to respond to them in a justified manner. As I said, I grew up in Lahore, squarely in a middle-class family, but with a very strong value system. I have never been a great student, by the way, so जो students यहाँ पर जो हैं वो struggle कर रहे हैं, मेरी तरह education में ज़्यादा परेशान ना हो, कुछ ना कुछ हो ही जाएगा, निकल ही जाएंगे आगे. But what was important was the encouragement by the family about critical thinking. And critical thinking is is the real game changer in life. So challenge everything, question everything, try and find the answers to everything, whatever is out there and you need an answer for. Do your own research, talk to the people that you think would have the responses for those questions. I come from a family of poets, authors, philosophers, actors, and you know, I guess the appreciation for literature and culture has always been there in me. And you know, I genuinely believe that this is something that is missing in our culture and society, and we need to encourage it more. We need to inculcate that more, nurture that more. And I'm very glad to see that Aitchison College is actually following its tradition and pursuing this as a mission. What encouraged me to write this book in this day and age, where you know आप लोगों का पेशेंस लेवल बहुत कम है, अभी भी लोग आपस में बातें करनी शुरू कर दी हैं, हालांकि अभी तो टॉक बहुत बाकी है, मगर this is the way our younger generation is, very impatient, बहुत ही रिटेंशन पीरियड बहुत थोड़ा सा होता है, अटेंशन स्पैन बहुत कम होता है, तो उसमें why this book? And you know, I thought that it's very important that you know ये जो reading की habit is evaporating from our society is needed to be encouraged. अच्छा, जो fact ये है कि जो sensationalism है और जो थोड़ा सा you know dramatize करने की बात होती है ना, वो लोगों को बड़ा अपील करती है. तो अगर आप किताब का टाइटल देखेंगे सीट 1C, तो ऐसा लगता है लोगों को कि जैसे मैंने क्रैश पे बड़ी लंबी चौड़ी बात की होगी. The reality is that there is very limited discussion about the crash, merely where it was necessary. The rest is about the learnings from the crash, post-crash for me. And this is what I would like to share with you all and talk about more in detail today. As I said, why a book and why this book? First of all, you know, I believe that book is my permanent contribution in this transitory world. Books tend to have a longer shelf life, both, you know, metaphorically as well as virtually. And what is left behind is at the end of the day is your creativity and your contribution as part of the creativity. And please do think about it. The people that you remember are remembered because of their creativity and doing things differently. And book, you know, actually gives you an opportunity to explain things better as well in a structured fashion. It doesn't have the constraint of time. It doesn't have the constraint of space as such. And then, you know, it attracts the attention invariably. If it is lying on the shelf, then you tend to get attracted to the book and at least pick it up to check it out what it's talking about. I personally have the DNA for writing the book, as I said, because of the family. In my family, in 3 generations, there are 50 books, and it's counting. Recently, my cousin has come out with another book, and you know, this book, as I said, is being translated in. And I am also working on 2 more books. One is about financial inclusion, peace, and prosperity. The other book, Principal Saab, actually resonates very well with this event today, is about literature and economy. How is literature important in the economy? And above all, you know, it's the habit of reading the book that I wanted to encourage the younger generation about, and hence this project of the book. Ladies and gentlemen, I personally believe that, you know, these learnings of mine are of course unique in nature. How many people you know who have seen the death so closely and have the opportunity of coming back and sharing those thoughts with the world, with the humanity? Perhaps very few. And even if people have seen the death so closely and come back, they perhaps do not have the DNA of writing the book or talking about things as well. So therefore, I think it's incumbent upon me that I share those unique learnings with everyone across the board. And it is very important that nobody ever confronts this kind of situation that I have confronted with. Therefore, whatever I have learned from that experience, I must share it on. And those 30 seconds, as I call it, a 30-second story before the death, is something which we all have to go through. Please keep this in mind. Those 30 seconds you will all face in life. You will never escape it. But maybe you will not have the opportunity to come back and tell the tale or rectify yourself or improve yourself. Therefore, I take this as an opportunity of share with you on what happened in those 30 seconds. These are basically, there are a total of 10 learnings, but these are basically some are the reinforcements of my earlier learnings in life. Some are the new learnings on those 30 seconds, as I call them. The gist essentially of these 10 learnings are into no regret syndrome and survivor's guilt, which is actually a diversion or channelizing your vulnerabilities towards your strengths. And I will, at the end of the talk, after your question and answer, will read something from the book on these two learnings. As I said earlier, that I'm writing a book on literature and economy. I believe that literature is something which is very important in our lives, and it is not a disparate disciplines as such from the others. It actually cuts across all the disciplines. So whether you are become an engineer or an accountant or a finance guy or a banker or a scientist or a data scientist, literature remains a constant factor and an important factor, and I tell you why. Because literature and languages helps you in appreciating your culture and your reality. Your reality is your culture, actually, as Dr. Numal Haq says. And the complexities of, for example, poetry and literature and the uncertainties of the history are all mind-boggling. And these are the things which encourage you to look at critical thinking and pursue critical thinking. Critical thinking and creativity makes you different from the others. And through reading history, literature and languages, you can become these habits could and these attributes could nurture and flourish. Let me share with you some structured thoughts from the books on this topic from my chapter on communication. This is a chapter on communication. I had always believed that it was a shame that this link was not more widely recognized and celebrated, and the fields of economics and literature were so desperate in academic circles. If large-scale data and numbers provide evidence for economic theory, then a study of economic history through the literary lens can humanize the theory. It can show us how complex forces shape the life of ordinary people. It is therefore imperative that anyone interested in the betterment of society and its socio-political landscape should engage with literature and art. We need to erase these unnecessary, arbitrary lines we have drawn in the sand and make our curricula more holistic and inclusive of literary traditions, even for students strictly interested in non-literary fields. Well-rounded professionals with the backgrounds and disciplines of humanities, particularly literature and art, grant new perspectives to businesses and their modus operandi think more creatively when finding scientific solutions to existing problems and are inspired to innovate more. They engage with difficult conversations about societal inequities and are often at the forefront of revolutionary thought. This is evident not just from the long standing traditions within literature, but also from the diaries and recorded thoughts of various revolutionary leaders from across the world. Ladies and gentlemen, I would need your attention on this particular aspect, please. Some of you would say that you are not interested in literature at all. Some of you would say, what is the value or what is the economic value of reading literature? Trust me, this is all in your head. People with varied backgrounds see things differently in the commercial world as well. And creativity is everything that sets you apart from others, help you remain ahead of the curve and your competition. Therefore, open your minds. Need your attention on this one. बच्चों, आपकी attention मुझे चाहिए. थोड़ी देर बाद बात कर लीजिएगा. ये जरूर सुन लीजिए. Open your minds, open your horizons, open your faculties towards creativity and critical thinking, and this will all come through literature, art and culture, reading history, and this is all in your head. As my favorite band U2 says, I have two favorite bands. One is U2, the other one is the Course. Both happen to be Irish bands. ये गाना जरूर सुन लीजिएगा आज जाके. मुझे पता है आपकी जनरेशन शायद उस U2 को उतनी अच्छी तरह नहीं जानती जितनी अच्छी तरह मैं और प्रिंसिपल साहब शायद जानते हैं. But do listen to this song, and I'll just share some excerpts from that song. Get out of your own way. I could sing it to you all night, all night. If I could, I make it all right, all right. मैं आपसे पूरी रात बात कर सकता हूं. मैं पूरी रात आपके बिहाफ पे काम कर सकता हूं. Nothing is stopping you except what's inside. I can help you, but it's your fight, fight back. Don't take it lying down. You get to bite back. The face of liberty is starting to crack like freedom. The slaves are looking for someone to lead them. The masters looking for someone to need him. आप लोग वो masters होंगे. You have to lead this world. You have to lead this country. The promised land is there for those who need it most. The Lincoln's ghost said, get out of your own way. Ladies and gentlemen, other than the critical thinking, the other most important thing that cuts across all the disciplines now, other than the creativity and critical thinking, languages, culture, history, art, is actually technology. Never lose the sight on the ball as far as technology is concerned. You will again, as I said, find it cutting across all the disciplines. Prepare yourself and gear up for it. I would strongly recommend you to read 2 books, please. इसको नोट कर लीजिए अगर आपको नोट करना है तो. एक किताब है जो लिखी है डेविडसन ने एंड रेसमक ने, 1996 में उन्होंने लिखी थी. This book is called Sovereign Individual. The other book is called Homo Deus. ये युवल नोआ हरीरी की किताब है. इसमें जो लर्निंग्स हैं, की लर्निंग्स, वो ये है कि इंडिविजुअल्स एट द बैक ऑफ टेक्नोलॉजी will become more powerful perhaps than the sovereigns, and they will have god-like powers. अब इन हाइंडसाइट अगर आप देखते हैं तो किताबें तो पहले लिखी गई थी, आज आप देखिए कि किस तरह ये टिंकरिंग शुरू हुई हुई है with the genetics. So actually we have now started treading into the arena and the domain of the god. किस तरह साइबर सिक्योरिटी जो है वो एक चीज को होल्ड पे ले आती है, चाहे वो आपकी मिलिट्री माइट ही क्यों ना हो. Therefore it is your control on the technology that makes you more powerful than the sovereigns. जो sovereigns दूसरी power draw करते हैं, they draw that power from printing of currency, the economic power. अब तो वो भी खत्म हो गया है. आप लोग इंशाअल्लाह ताला, मैं आई कुड सी दिस इन दिस ग्रुप कि कोई ना कोई अपनी क्रिप्टो करेंसी के साथ इंशाअल्लाह आएगा, तो आप तो सॉवरेन को चैलेंज कर रहे होंगे, एंड योर क्रिप्टो करेंसी मे बी मोर एक्सेप्टेबल देन द पाक रुपीज फॉर दैट मैटर. एंड दिस इज व्हाट द पावर ऑफ टेक्नोलॉजी इज. एंड यू नो द इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग इज that we may have to make sure that when we gain that power, and you will all gain this power, I'm telling you now, this generation, you are the future, you will have that power. Please channelize this power for the greater good of your community and society. Do not use this for the purposes that it's not intended for. You must remember, the life is all about impact on people. The life is all about what you are leaving behind and how people will remember you. And I'm sharing this you based on my experience of those 30 seconds when no money, no position was important, and it was goodness of people because of which I'm sitting in front of you. And it was my interaction subsequently with my loved ones and my people that brought me that strength to write this book and come and talk to you about this. So this is your legacy. Use your power, use your authority, use your money for that legacy, ladies and gentlemen. And that is what matters in life. Thank you very much. I will talk to you. I will do the read from the book of the gist of the learnings right at the end. But before that, I would like to have a question and answer session with you. Yes. How to use literature to improve Pakistan's economy? Okay. I was expecting this question, so कोई ऐसी परेशानी नहीं है, क्योंकि एक हमारे यहाँ thought process ये है कि ये तो literature वगैरह जो है ना, ये waste of time है. By the way, जब मैं आपकी एज का था तो शायद मैं भी ये सोचता था, तो कोई ऐसी बात नहीं, कोई परेशानी की बात नहीं, और इसकी गालिबन कोई ज़रूरत नहीं है प्रैक्टिकल लाइफ के अंदर. अगर हम MBA कर लेंगे, चार्ट अकाउंटेंसी कर लेंगे, इंजीनियर बन जाएंगे, डॉक्टर बन जाएंगे, और हम डेटा साइंटिस्ट बन जाएंगे, तो बस भी ये sorted in life. The important thing about literature is that it opens up your mind. It leads you toward thinking about those faculties in your mind which perhaps were suppressed or were never woken up to those realities. Now, that helps you in becoming more creative. And that creativity is something which makes you different from another data scientist, for example, who has equal exposure of data sciences but does not have that ability of creativity, that critical thinking, that connection with the history, that connection with the culture. And trust me, what makes the difference in your endeavors in your professional life is the connection with your culture and understanding your people of what they want and what they are looking for. And that is what makes the difference when you read literature, when you pursue art, when you are talking about history. This is the difference it makes. Languages make world of difference. अब मैं आपको दूसरा भी इसका एंगल दिखा देता हूँ. दूसरा एंगल उसका ये है कि if you have command on the language, by default, you will have to learn the history about that language too. And literature also demands that you must understand history as well. So एक खाली लैंग्वेज सीखने से आप उस मुल्क के कल्चर को, चाहे वो पाकिस्तानी कल्चर ना हो, चाइनीज हो, आप या सऊदी, आप उसको समझने में उनके कल्चर को समझेंगे और उनकी हिस्ट्री को समझेंगे. तो जब आप कम्युनिकेट करेंगे एज अ पाकिस्तानी इन देयर लैंग्वेज, इन देयर कल्चर, इन देयर हिस्ट्री, तो मैं आपको इस बात की यकीन दिलाता हूं कि देयर ओपिनियन अबाउट विल चेंज सब्सटेंशियली. और जो बिजनेस आपके रास्ते में आना है ना, वो एक्चुअली मॉनेटरी टर्म्स में भी आपको बेनिफिट करेगा. एंड दिस इज व्हाट द बेनिफिट ऑफ लिटरेचर एंड लैंग्वेजेस in our economy.
I am studying. Sir, my question to you is, going through such a traumatic experience as a plane crash, how does that change your outlook on life, and how do you think it affected your relationship with God and your religion?
अच्छा, ये बड़ा ट्रिकी सवाल कुरैशी साहब आपने पूछा. बाय द वे, मैं इसको अवेट कर रहा था, मगर आप मुझे घुमा के लेके आ गए हैं वहाँ पर. एनीवेज, आई रिस्पॉन्ड टू दिस. पहली बात तो ये है कि आपने जो पहला हिस्सा आपके सवाल का है, दैट इज रिलेटेड टू द चेंज इन लाइफ और पर्सपेक्टिव ऑफ माय पर्सपेक्टिव टुवर्ड्स लाइफ. माय पर्सपेक्टिव टुवर्ड्स लाइफ, जिस तरह मैंने अभी अपनी टॉक में भी कहा था, इज एक्चुअली it's all about people. No money, no position matters when you're leaving this world. What you are leaving behind is the impact on people. How well you resonated with those people and what impact you have created on those people, negative or positive. Obviously, I'm a positive की बात कर रहा हूँ. And that is what your legacy would be. So anything, in life, the only thing that matters is your relationship with other people and your impact on other people's life. Nothing more, nothing less. I'm telling you from my own experience. अब क्योंकि आपने ये बात छेड़ दी है, तो मैं उसको आपको एक और बात बता देता हूँ. I call it a 30-second story. मैंने आज वो टाइम की कंस्ट्रेंट की वजह से उसको नहीं टच किया. एक्चुअली सिचुएशन ये है कि हम सब, we all talk about, और इससे आपको मेरे रिलीजियस बिलीफ्स का भी शायद थोड़ा अंदाजा हो जाएगा. मुबशर नोज देम क्वाइट वेल, हादी नोज देम क्वाइट वेल. बात ये है कि जो वो हम सब बड़ा वरी करते हैं अबाउट लाइफ आफ्टर डेथ, हमारा उस पर फेथ है, कुछ मिथ है, हर रिलीजन में है. बाय द वे, हम कोई डिफरेंट नहीं है. मैं उस दिन वो कन्फ्यूशियज्म को देख रहा था. It is so close to Islamic learnings, it is unbelievable. और हमारा ख्याल ये है कि उसका कोई ताल्लुक नहीं है. So हर एक जगह पे वो लाइफ आफ्टर डेथ का कॉन्सेप्ट तो है, and we all worry about life after death, and we should, but we do not worry about life before death. Those 30 seconds that I was experiencing, that I knew that I was going, what did I experience in those 30 seconds? अब ये मेटाफोरिकल 30 सेकंड्स हैं. कुछ लोगों की जिंदगी 5 महीने भी हो सकते हैं, कुछ की 1 मिनट हो सकता है, कुछ के 10 दिन हो सकते हैं. इस पे आप ये 30 सेकंड पे ना फंसे. जब आपको ये पता है कि आपकी जिंदगी खत्म हो रही है, तो आपकी जिंदगी और मौत के दरमियान जो टाइम है, उसमें आप क्या एक्सपीरियंस करते हैं. वरी अबाउट दैट. एंड आई कैन टेल यू फ्रॉम माई एक्सपीरियंस that I was only worried about one thing. I was not worried about what rituals I didn't follow. I was not worried about, which namaz I missed or roza I missed. I was more worried about how my interaction with people been. Is there anything? Did I hurt anybody? Am I concerned about not doing something, something right? But I'm going to hold this thought back and share it with you right at the end after question and answer, reading from the book, what those 30 seconds are. Worry about those 30 seconds when you will be standing in your own court, in your own witness box, and answerable to yourself of how you led your life. देखिए, बात सुनिए, जिसके सामने आप आंसरेबल है ना लाइफ आफ्टर डेथ में, वो गफूरुर रहीम है. वो तो आपकी छोटी मोटी चीजें माफ कर देगा, मगर आप जब अपने कटहरे में खुद खड़े होंगे ना, तो जैसे आप खुद हैं, आप अपने आप को उस लेंथ से असेस कर रहे होंगे। हमारी तो सिचुएशन ये है, एज वो रजा असलान सेज, कि वी ट्राई एंड ह्यूमनाइज द गॉड एज वेल। हम अपने लेंथ से गॉड को देख रहे होते हैं कि जैसे हम हैं उसको मल्टीप्लाई कर लो 10 टाइम्स। वी कांट इवन असेस दैट। So therefore, there are two learnings here. When you are standing in your own court, accountable to yourself, at that time you should not have any regrets, because उस पर टाइम नहीं होगा to fix that. वो टाइम गुजर चुका है। So आज हर स्टेप जो लें वो ये सोच के लें कि उसका रिग्रेट आपको लाइफ बिफोर डेथ में ना हो। दूसरा, अपने आप को इतना बड़ा इंसान बनाने की कोशिश कीजिए कि छोटी मोटी चीजें जो है ना वो आप वैसे इग्नोर कर दें दूसरे लोगों की, आप अपने आप को भी उस वक्त माफ कर देंगे इस मामले में।
Assalamualaikum, my name is Edwin Nadeem and I am from Bruce Internationals. I'm currently in my last year of O-levels. So I love your thoughts about literature, languages and culture. And you mentioned two of your favorite books. So I just wanted to know, what is your most favorite book and what kind of impact has it left on you as an individual?
You're saying favorite book? अच्छा, वो वेरी करती रहती है विद द पैसेज ऑफ टाइम, तो उसको कहना बड़ा मुश्किल काम है। फॉर एग्जाम्पल, अंटिल रिसेंटली मेरी कुछ और फेवरेट किताबें थी। मेरी एक बड़ी फेवरेट किताब है टीयरिंग डाउन दिस वॉल्स, वो रॉबर्ट रूबन होते थे, ट्रेजरी सेक्रेटरी। मुझे बहुत शौक है लोगों की जिंदगियों के बारे में पढ़ना, बट रियलिस्टिकली पढ़ना। ज़्यादातर जो बायोग्राफीज और ऑटोबायोग्राफीज लिखी होती है ना, वो सारी एग्जैजरेटेड होती है। वो मैंने एक एक्स प्रेसिडेंट यूएसए की ऑटोबायोग्राफी उठाई थी, वो मैंने पहले चैप्टर के बाद छोड़ दी, बिकॉज वो अपने आप को प्रेजेंट कर रहे थे कि वो बहुत बड़े सेंट हैं, जो वो नहीं थे, तो लिहाजा मैंने वो बिल्कुल साइड पे रख दी। मगर अब मुझे जो ज़्यादा चीज़ अट्रैक्ट कर रही है ना, वो अट्रैक्ट कर रही है रीडिंग अबाउट टेक्नोलॉजी एंड इट्स एवोल्यूशन ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ टाइम। एंड जिस तरह मैंने दो किताबें आपसे शेयर की, those happen to be my favorite books at this point in time, although there are various other authors as well who I admire and look up to. मगर इस वक्त मेरे लिए मैं जो है ना वो जरा hung up हुआ हूँ on the technology a lot, so therefore focus is on these two books. आप लोग ये किताबें ज़रूर पढ़िएगा प्लीज़। अच्छा जी, अब मैं ज़रा हादी अपनी टॉक जो है ना वो ख़त्म करना चाहूँगा ऑन द टू लर्निंग्स, और मुझे ये आपसे आखिरी 5 मिनट की अटेंशन चाहिए। ख़वातीनो हजरात, आप लोग आपस में बात बाद में कर लीजिएगा, ये प्लीज़ सुन लीजिए जो जिस्ट ऑफ दोस 10 लर्निंग्स हैं। आपका वो 10 किताब लोग आप लोग नहीं पढ़ेंगे, लेकिन कम से कम ये जिस्ट जरूर सुन लीजिए, ये आपके काम ही शायद आ जाए। सर्वाइविंग अ प्लेन क्रैश does that to you. It introduces incongruous thoughts you never imagined could exist in your brain. You feel horrified and devastated by the tragedy surrounding you, yet simultaneously you also feel relieved at your survival. And despite this relief, you question why you survived. And when that survivor's guilt gains so much as a toehold in your mind, you find yourself wrecked by it. You recognize that what happened was senseless, but you still search for meanings in the debris left behind. It becomes a constant, unrelenting struggle, finding and coming to terms with grief and joy, pain and relief, depression and a renewed life to live all at once. In fact, this guilt has been my primary motivation for creating a more equitable world. So perhaps it is time to subvert the negative association we have with the survivor's guilt. If all of us individually, ladies and gentlemen, ये जिस्ट का भी जिस्ट है, if all of us individually see the privileges, wealth or positions we have as a proof of our survival in an uneven, unjust world, then we should all have some degree of guilt that propels us to make changes. No regrets, which was the case when I was ready to go at the time of the crash and was all set to face my God, was another sentiment that has made life difficult for me. Every human is a mere mortal. We have to leave this world sooner or later in one way or the other, but we have to keep in mind that when we are leaving this world, there shall not be any regrets whatsoever for not doing some things at all, or perhaps for doing some things differently. With that perspective, all your actions towards humanity and society change for the better. No regrets shall be the hallmark in making decisions in our lives to be a better human being, a better person. It is my hope that this book communicates the urgency with which we need to create an equitable world, and is a damning indictment of the pitfalls of the rigidity, narrow-mindedness, and the failure to understand needs of others. I believe understanding this urgency is the only way for us to leave behind something worthwhile in this world. I will now share a couplet of John Elia, who's happened to be my grandfather's younger brother as well. Ladies and gentlemen, suffering is perhaps the biggest bond of mankind, and trauma is a reality. Never ever shy away from this. This will come one way or the other, this way or that way, but then channelize that towards the right things. And very well said by John Saab, and I'll finish this with this couplet of John Saab. ये जिंदगी है साहिब, ये जिंदगी है साहिब, उलझेगी नहीं तो सुलझेगी कैसे। बहुत पेशो खम आएंगे जिंदगी में, बच्चों परेशान नहीं होना, सीखना उससे, सीखना अपने आप को बेहतर करना, ज्यादा पावर के साथ वापस आना। ये जिंदगी है साहिब, उलझेगी नहीं तो सुलझेगी कैसे, बिखरेगी नहीं तो निखरेगी कैसे। थैंक यू वेरी मच लेडीज एंड जेंटलमैन।